We're going to do facilities first this evening. Just want to make everyone aware the Pennridge School Board welcomes public comment according to policy 903. We remind everyone of the following. Public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise specified by the board. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer, note their name and municipality. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer rather than to individual board members, district employees, or members of the public. The speaker may speak once during each comment period. Please note that these sessions are designated for comments. Questions raised and not addressed may be followed up at a later time. Do we have any public comment? Thank you.
Sue Furlong, West Rockhill Township. I noticed that when I finally received the agenda, that once again, for about the 4th time, we're discussing the weight room floor and the equipment for the weight room. I sat through a meeting a few nights ago where a band parent came forward with a check. They had not had their main fundraiser to the Spectrum of Sound, but they still, despite a caveat in their 10-year agreement, came forth with a $1,000 donation. Without the fundraiser, I assume that a lot of the parents have ponied up on this money. We're looking at a floor for $20,000. The band parents were expected to come up with $15,000, and until they did, they had to wait a full year to get the transportation that they needed for their instruments and equipment. If I look up here at the football field, Helman Field, let's call it that, I see 5 different activities going on that field. You have field hockey teams. I don't know if you have varsity and junior varsity, but I'm pretty sure you have male and female. You have lacrosse, male and female, varsity and perhaps junior varsity, soccer, male and female. You have football, large male team, and you have track events, male and female. I don't understand why these booster clubs are not expected to come through with the same commitment to their students' sport that the band parents were expected to come forward for their students' activity. And they waited a year until they had the money. So I think that you should contact the president of the Football Boosters Club, the track president of the Boosters Club, the Soccer Booster Club president, the Lacrosse Booster Club president, and the Field Hockey Booster Club president, and raise your $20,000. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the first item tonight. It's obsolete items for review. There's letter A through F. Any questions on this? No? Okay. And we'll move it to the agenda for the 25th. Second item is to discuss the weight room floor and equipment. Mr. Babb's here to discuss that. It's A and B pricing options and floor layout options.
Yes, Dr. Price asked me to compile some prices on different options. The first option we looked at a little bit ago was for complete equipment for the entire room, and that would be option A and option C. And then recently we looked at if we kept it to under $45,000. At that time, that was the amount that we had raised or brought in through advertising. And those would be the options B and option D. And those are the prices that we have as far as the weight room. And the diagram would show you exactly what it would look like if we went with the 2 different options.
Any questions on this? Anybody right now?
The one that's got more equipment in it, it doesn't seem, I guess, I thought that there was also a goal of having some area for speed and agility training. If you have all of that equipment in there, it doesn't seem like you'd have any room to do any of that. So I was just wondering where you would be able to work on that.
Right down the middle in front of those 6 racks, you could probably fit at least 4 ladders, and that's what they do, a lot of ladder training in those areas. So it's not a huge area, but right down the middle is what we actually use in the hallway here at the high school. We do ladder training because we can't fit it in the existing weight room here, but it would fit in that area there. A ladder is about 3/4 of the stage area.
In width.
And yeah, in length and width, it's about, yeah.
Just as an update as well, the dollars that Mr. Babb spoke about, actually, we've had an increase in the money that's in regard to donations. If you want to talk about that, Mr. Robert.
Yeah, we have updated numbers for you as far as our donations go. In this particular week, we received a $3,900 donation from several members of the Yoder family. But right now, our total is $50,789, and that also includes a $500 donation from the Football Booster Club.
Could you repeat that? I couldn't hear you.
What part?
For the donation part?
The total donated right now is, or the total available right now is $50,789. There was a $500 donation from the Football Booster Club and a $3,900 donation from the Yoder family.
Which puts us at, if you're looking at that total amount, and I'm looking at the BSN estimate here, because when it appears, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Babb, but when you look at the equipment list, we're getting more from the BSN one.
That's correct.
And which a lot of what it looks like has been removed is free weights, that type of thing, not as many of the larger machinery pieces.
Correct. If you go with the 45,000 or under, you would lose one of the major racks, and then you'd also lose 4 other machines, along with a lot of the other equipment.
Who's paying for it?
Okay, so my question being, now we're looking at a difference of $11,000 here. I know that you've brought some budget information, and that's for next year, but in regard to this year's, we're looking at $11,000. Is there any way that the athletic department can help with this? Because my opinion is if we cut $11,000 out now, go back later to buy these pieces, it's going to cost more. And we've seen that before, that it does.
Yeah, we could get some from the athletic budget to help round it off.
To put us up at that $61,699.
Correct.
I have a question, but the 50,000, we don't actually have 50,000, do we?
Yes.
We do?
That is dollars in hand.
Oh,
That
some of that,
doesn't-
that's not all from the Build It for Bud campaign, though.
That's what we went over last week. It's from the Hollenbach donations for the Builder for Bud, which is $19,006. Patha Pride Pavers, $4,400. And the sponsorships, $22,000. And the advertising, $4,100.
The War Memorial was listed on that sheet that Mr. Daubert gave us last month, but that's not included in this because that's separate from the rest of it.
Correct.
But then, go ahead.
The War Memorial has $8,100, and that is not included in this $50,000 dollars.
But then my question is, so then what happens with the commitments? Then aren't there, if there's 19,600 you said collected from the Build It for Bud?
19,600, correct.
And so, but there's commitments for 60,000, so another 40,000. So what would that money, then as that money was collected, what would that go towards? If we use all of the other money for the weight equipment?
That money would be available for whatever purpose that the board saw fit at the facility, I would think. It could be used to fund the portion from the athletic budget that Mr. Babb is talking about chipping in this year. And then other dollars could be used to further enhance the room for the student athletes as that money becomes available. No set plan.
Right, I just know, but the people who donated that money were donating it for the naming of the building, and then they were told, well, no, now it's gonna go towards weight equipment, and if we take money from other places, then the people need to be told what their money is going towards. I would think that people who are donating money for a specific purpose then need to have a clear understanding of where their money is going. There's also, I mean, I know it's an agenda item farther down that the BuxMont Torch is going to host a fundraiser to benefit the stadium, so there'll be money that's coming in through that. I mean, it's unknown how much, but.
So whatever that would be, as Mr. Doggett said, would go back into the fund right here from the torch fundraiser.
So if we're taking 11,000 out of the athletic budget, what is that taking away from?
That's what I estimate that we would have left over from this year going on. That's all contingent on how many kids qualify for states, whether we have spring teams that go into the playoffs, how far they go on into the playoffs. So there's still a third of the year left.
So if you use that $11,000, am I understanding you correctly that some of these teams might not be funded for these competitions?
No, it'd be in my estimation that we would still have that.
How good is your estimation?
I can't predict the future.
So wouldn't it be better to leave that 11,000 there for these kids and still go back to using the money from the fundraiser?
You can do that.
Your revenues for this year from gate receipts, they were increased. So that's part of what goes back
compared to
into
past years.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah, it was a great year
Mhm.
for gate receipts.
So that money goes
Let me
back.
jump in and help you, Dave.
What's a great year? What does that mean to us?
The budget this year for gate receipts is $80,000, and currently our athletic revenue is $102,538. We had an extra home football game this year, plus we had the Thanksgiving Day game. Those factors.
What was the 100,000? I'm
You
sorry.
said 80,000 in receipts, and what was the other number?
Our budget is $80,000.
It's just coming from, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Mr. Babb.
That's okay. That's okay. I jumped in there. Our budget's $80,000 this year.
The budget or the gate receipts?
Budget.
Okay,
The actual gate receipts are $102,538 at this time.
thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at Mr. Babb.
No, that's okay. I jumped in.
Ventriloquist
I jumped in
here.
there.
Okay, thanks.
So do all of those gate receipts go into the athletic fund? Is that?
Yes. They are within the general fund, but they're a line item within the general fund for gate receipts, which make up part of the athletic budget, which is in the general fund.
So when you're saying we're 11,000 over, is that because we have 11,000 in more funding than you had expected, or because we had put more money into this fund than we ended up actually needing? You know what I mean? Like, how do we have an extra $11,000? Am I missing something?
His budget from last year, I believe, correct?
But what I'm saying is, at the beginning of the year, you budgeted that you needed this much money, and now we have 11,000 over. I'm just wondering then, what was the original plan for that $11,000? Or was it extra money we got that we weren't expecting to get from the gate receipts? Is that what you're saying?
The $22,000 revenue is extra money that we weren't predicting to get. We were predicting to get 80,000 in gate receipts. We got 102,000. Actually, those dollars are available. But what Mr. Batt's saying is that he feels on his expense side that he will have some dollars left at the end of the year. The budgeting, it's the same in any area that we have. Budgeting is not an exact science. You know, and every lead budget lead or department head will make sure that when they build their budget, they build their budget adequately and a little bit extra in case needed. So what Dave's saying is based on the performance so far and the expenditures that he's seen so far, that he thinks he'll have about an extra $10,000 or $11,000 underspended in his budget. So we have that, plus we have the revenue, which is 20,000 addition. So really, right now, Mr. Babb believes his budget will be 30,000 to the positive, 20 in revenue and 10 in expenses.
So is it possible to use that money for next year?
At the end of the year, all accounts are closed out, and any revenue over expenditures rolls into fund balance, or could be transferred to capital projects. It doesn't stay in the general fund for the next year.
Right, so that would be up to us to decide to put it back in there or not.
No, it either goes to capital projects or it goes to fund balance.
But I'm saying for next year, we will vote on how much money goes into the athletic fund.
Yes, for next year, he'll have a whole new budget to work on.
I don't see anywhere on here about the pool project, and that was a big unknown, correct? When are those bids coming in?
We are advertising into week one, or Monday was our first day advertising, so we have 3 weeks advertising. Bids are back at the end of April. We'll bring that to you in May.
Because isn't that, I mean, we have no idea what that's going to cost, correct?
I have a ballpark, I don't want to say what it is, so I'll be held to
right.
it, but I have a ballpark idea. And that money's in the capital fund, my capital fund.
I was just going to say that's coming out of capital, that's not coming out of
Different budget.
Mr. Babb's budget. The pool.
Correct, but we don't know, I mean, if we don't know how much it's
No,
going
I
to cost,
understand.
we might need it, and if the money from the athletic department goes into the capital, it might be money that we need for that project. I don't, we,
Any other questions on this? The question remains, I mean, Mr. Babb, last month we talked in regard to money that was in the fund from the fundraising, the 45,000. We asked Mr. Babb to come back with those numbers that fit, with equipment that fit those dollars. He has.
That's just the equipment, and who's paying for the floor?
I have a question,
Yes.
a couple questions. I'm not sure what motion are we trying to put together here? A pricing for the equipment and the floor combined or separate? That's my one question.
Combined.
So that price on these sheets includes the flooring?
The flooring, if you look at the BSN one, which is what I'm looking at, the last 3 lines are your flooring costs,
Your taxpayers got to pay that.
which is approximately 15,000. That was given to us at a previous meeting. So
All right.
this includes everything, because again, at a previous meeting, when we first discussed the floor, the question was raised, why are we doing the floor without putting equipment in? So again, Mr. Babb came back last month with the full project here, flooring with equipment. That's what he brought.
So, all right, so then the motion, the question was, do we have any other questions? So there didn't seem to be any at that moment. Are we trying to get a motion together to,
Trying to move this forward
To
to
move
the 20,
or not?
to the meeting to vote on option A or option B. And, you know, option A had been presented last month, so we asked for him to bring option B back. Now, tonight here we find out that we are plus about $4,000, $5,000 more in our total here, which again, like I said, you know, puts us at a difference of $11,000. So again, you can look at adding equipment back in here.
Yeah, I need clarification on this as well. So the BSN, is that the only one that has the floor and the?
No, the other one has the floor as well. If you look at the pricing option attached.
On the Webster?
Yes.
Where is the floor on that? Is it down at the bottom?
Last two items.
The last two items, it says shipping and installation cost, and then Pinnacle 8mm rubber floor and installation. And you're looking at about $18,500 for just that
So
alone.
this one's actually less, this,
Which one?
the Webster, isn't it?
No, it's more.
44? The 44,908 compared to 44,963 is not that much cheaper, but.
No, but Mr. Bow, if you look at the two, is there more equipment on the BSN one?
There's a lot of zeros on there, so it's hard to tell.
Yes, the Webster's doesn't include all the equipment that the VSN does. Webster doesn't sell the kettlebells and some of the other specialty items.
But you're not getting the kettlebells.
That's correct. If-
Now, and one of the questions in past meetings raised was in regard to warranties. There's also warranty information at the bottom of the page with the two quotes, the BSN and the Webster.
If BSN includes more equipment than Webster's, shouldn't there be 4 drawings? A drawing for A, a drawing for B, one for C, one for D, but A and C are shown as the same drawing, so it makes it appear that BSN and Webster's, you're getting the same exact equipment with the same layout.
Yeah, you're roughly getting the same equipment. The BSN does offer more smaller items that would fit in that storage case that's right in front of the door.
The power band is nothing. I mean, are you including the power band and you think this is a lot of equipment? I don't understand. I mean, you have 0 for kettlebells, 0 for the band. I'm a little confused how you laid this out. So we're not looking at option B? Is that what you're saying, Mrs. Schmidt?
No, there's two. If you're looking at just BSN's, are you looking at BSN's
I am.
quote? Okay, so option A was what, if you're,
Multiple,
is the full list.
correct.
Okay.
I get that.
Option B, we asked him to come back with what fits our dollar
I get that.
threshold.
Okay, I get that.
Okay.
So why not the choice?
But, so what I'm saying is, if it still doesn't, I don't know how that equates, unless I would sit there and price out each one of these, I don't know how that equates to the Webster. I don't know who has more equipment, is what I'm saying. Which bid, which pricing layout has more equipment?
The BSN has more equipment.
And now is that option B or option A again? Because,
Option A would have all of the equipment.
so option B has more equipment than option B in Webster.
Now, option B is kept under the 45,000.
All right.
So
This is C.
option A in BSN is comparable to option C in Webster.
I mixed up my normals, but I'm in the right column.
Yeah, so option B in BSN is comparable to option D in Webster.
So option D is a little bit less money. Nothing to, but we
Yes,
seem to be
and-
focused on BSN for some reason.
Yes, and also, if you look at, again, the warranty information from BSN, they guarantee for life on the equipment. Your 3-year warranty on the flooring is the same. That was a question that was raised, I believe, by Mr. Regola, possibly at a past meeting regarding warranty. So your warranty information is right there.
I have another question. Mr. Babb, I think we're getting like way off too far into the details of how many kettlebells and how many belts. That's not what I don't think we should be doing that. I think, let me just finish though. We should say, I think, or what I think we're supposed to do is he's presented 2 options and he's given us the price. And we're trying to decide if we want to, and then there's been some discussion, but for us to start going line by line, he's the guy that put this in front of us. I just think we're not doing, it's making me get anxious just listening to this.
I think you're misinterpreting.
Well, that's what I'm hearing, I
was trying to understand what all the equipment
not
is.
just what you're saying, but we're all saying.
Okay. I mean, certainly this one looks like it's loaded with equipment, but when you look, it's all zeros. So I was just trying to understand which one truly does. That is my question. Which one truly has the most equipment? That's it, Barry. That's all I'm asking.
I get that, and that's where I kind of many times defer back to the people that are making their pitch to us. Because we don't know what those mean. I couldn't even find the floor. When I saw it there, after I asked, I thought a little foolish because there it was. But I think what we should try, at least my opinion, is we know some of the finances. He should, I would hope, would make a recommendation one or the other. Mrs. Schmidt kind of was leading us along saying, let's buy all the equipment first time out so we don't have to pay more the second time. So, and also along those lines, we had some money come back from the whole entire project. I'm hearing people out there occasionally, we have an empty room, we're not using it. So this is one of those hot potato things in our district where it's going to be, if we finish it, you're going to get yelled at. If we don't finish it, you're going to get yelled at. So for me, I think we should finish it because we've finished a lot of other things around here since I've been on the board that didn't get finished right the first time. So, and we should pick the proposal or see who wants to vote for a proposal that has your recommendation, that's inside the budget that we set aside, and not be going down the road of, make a smart move, make a smart decision, but not go line by line and pick out the equipment. I just think we're getting in trouble when we do that. So that's what I asked. What is the motion? What motion are we looking for? To complete the room? To leave it to almost complete the room?
What's the motion?
So that's what I think we need to talk about instead of. I think we should do that. The criticisms are going to come either way. So right now we're like going in a circle here.
When we compared these numbers last time, we were talking about whether or not we should buy the floor or buy the floor and the equipment. And when you looked at the breakdown, what you're spending on the floor for Webster's is a lot less than what you're spending on the floor for BSN. The way that you save money is BSN is giving you a deal by buying all of it together, where you're not really getting as much of a deal buying it all together for Webster's. So it's really about whether or not you want to put in all the equipment or not. Obviously, you think that we should put in all the equipment. I think that, we've raised enough money for the purpose of the weight room to put in the floor, and we should put in the floor. And I don't think that we should budget other money outside of that to pay for all of that equipment until, maybe putting that in, figuring that out for the next budget for the next year. But when I'm looking at the things that we have to try to decide what's most important for our budget for next year, I don't want to leave any money on the table that we could have used for other purposes.
I don't know if you're missing the point of what Mr. Daubert said earlier, but we have $50,789 that is there towards this. Not 15,000. And when you look at the two prices, again, we're nitpicking over line items like Mr. Casper just said. If you add up the floor from Webster, pull that out, and you add up the floor from BSN, Webster's is higher. I don't know, I don't understand what numbers you're looking at. But it's higher. But like I said, and like Mr. Casper said, we're nitpicking over pieces here. So the question is, you know, we asked Mr. Babb last time again to bring back a price, an equipment list here that fits the dollars that we are told are in this fund, $45,000 as of the last meeting. Now tonight it's $50,789 with additional fundraising. Do we support, is there support to do this?
I believe Dr. Price was going to ask the donors for the weight room if they were willing to move up some of their contributions, but has that happened?
We have a letter ready to go to them, but I hesitated to send it out after a meeting with Mr. Babb and Coach Hellenbach and Joe Ferry and so forth until after tonight's meeting, until we knew exactly what direction we were going with the weight room. But that wouldn't bring us money in hand to finish this project now.
But again, but my question remains though, what, if those people were donating money for the weight room, what are they donating money for?
Well, if they've started their 10-year contributions, we still need to put their names on the plaque in the weight room, in my opinion, whether they moved up the donations or not. That's what they originally were.
I know, but once we finish the weight room though, what is their money going towards? What are they donating for?
Sean, this is probably better your area, but in my opinion, we're replacing the funds that we're fronting the money for the weight room. They're replacing that money, but ultimately it's still their dollars that are being donated for the weight room. I don't think we're shifting where their money's going. I mean, we're funding it up front and then replacing that money. So if their name's on the plaque to say they've donated towards the weight room, I think we're still back to shifting from the naming rights project to the equipment project that, at least in my mind, they still will be donating for the weight room, not for a different project.
Bam parents had to wait. Bam had to wait.
And as Mr. Daubert said earlier, you had mentioned that if Mr. Babb's bringing forth $11,000, as that money comes in, can that be
Yes, we have
moved back into that fund if needed?
Yes.
Mrs. Yardley, I don't know if that answers part of that question. So, again, the question remains, are we supporting this? Do we support moving forward with either one of these options?
Well, I would be fine with, I think if the Build It for Bud campaign has $60,000 in commitments, correct? Right? And now there have also been some additional contributions for the weight room project, so that in commitments, we have enough money. So what we're doing is using the money that came in through the other fundraising that wasn't designated for a specific purpose. So we're using that, we'll use some from the athletic department, and then as the rest of the commitments come in, we'll put the money back into the fundraising to replace the money that was taken from the fundraising and use it for a future project. But really, it's all going for the weight room, is what we're saying. Because there were $60,000 in commitments, and that's what we're spending on the weight room. And then whatever we take from the athletic budget, we would replace that as the contribution comes in. Is that what, I mean, if that's what, I mean, that's what I guess I'm hearing, and I would be fine with that. And I do think it makes more sense to complete the project, because when you do it in pieces, it ends up costing more.
No,
So.
Anybody else want to give their opinion on it?
I would just like a confirmation, is the $11,000 going back into the athletic budget through fundraising money? Is that money going to be returned to either our general, yeah, I didn't hear a yes or no, is that correct?
I'm sorry, yes.
So the money will come back to us?
Yes.
Okay.
The money could be placed back to the general fund
general
as
fund
it comes in until we come up to that amount of money.
Okay, that's what I wanted, a confirmation.
So then, which option are we talking about? Let's pick the option,
Well,
and that's how I
Mrs.
think we can-
Yardley indicated that she's option A, complete, correct? Or-
I'm for the, I'm
I
for
can't
doing
tell
it
which one does
completely,
it.
but whatever the administration recommends, A or C. Do you recommend A? Is that what you're recommending, Mr. Babb, as compared to C?
Correct, A.
Yeah, okay.
Of course. You
And
want
I'm
it
in
all.
favor of A.
Taxpayers' money.
Dr. Yarnell?
I agree with Mrs. Yardley that indeed we should finish the project.
Yeah.
And yes, I would support option A.
You guys don't even
Mr.
have any
Regella?
fundraising meetings.
My apologies for being late. Yeah, I don't see doing a job halfway. So my opinion would be, do the job, have it done, option A.
Mrs. Davis Clemens?
I'm opposed.
Mrs. Miller?
I'm undecided.
So will we be moving option A to the board meeting on the 25th? With 5 in
Yeah,
support?
okay, 5. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Babb.
Thank you.
Third item is the request to East Rockhill Township regarding radio transmissions for Transportation Department. Mr. Geiger's here to talk about that.
Last month I came to you and showed that we had gotten permission from East Rockhill to put a new radio repeater and antenna up at their maintenance building. The initial proposal was from Land Mobile Corporation at the $15,301.50. I went out, I got 2 additional prices comparing apples to apples. They got the same list of equipment necessary to complete the project, and that both of them came in above what Land Mobile Corporation came in at. This money would come out of the 2016-17 budget. It would not be completed until in July, August, or even started, because Land Mobile Corporation would have to go out and get the new FCC license for the repeater and everything, and that'll take till almost July to get in anyway. So my recommendation would be to go with Land Mobile for the cost of $15,301.50.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone? So are we all comfortable with moving this forward? Yes? Okay, thank you.
If you don't mind, I have a couple updates for the board. We have received 7 out of our 10 new buses to date. As of today, we received our 7th one. We should receive the other 3 by Friday and have completed our purchase of the 10 new vehicles for this school year. The camera installation has begun. We have started with all the vehicles that have no cameras in currently, and the new buses that are coming in are getting them right away. The guys are working hard at doing their normal maintenance first thing in the morning, and as they get all their work orders and up to date on their maintenance on the vehicles, they're switching over to cameras. So it's an ongoing project, and it is scheduled to be done by start of school. We're working diligently on that. And the 2 speed zone signs out here within the next few weeks should have the indicator lights on the back. That price is going to be like $400 to purchase the electric through the township to get that completed, so that when you leave the building here, you'll be able to see the back of the sign and see a white indicator light indicating that it's on. These are the only 2 in the district that didn't have it on. So, okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Geiger. Okay, item number 4 is a request to waive.
Excuse me, I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, may
Go
I?
ahead.
Thank you.
For
I guess-
Mr. Geiger?
No, this is more to the administration. Have we determined any policy procedure yet for monitoring these cameras? Any system? Or are we just doing it on an, as a PRN, as needed?
Dr. Brevard did some research on other districts that have this, and basically, because of the fact that we have 100 buses that run every day, for about 6 hours a bus, I believe, right, Mr. Geiger? That would be, as you can imagine, how many people we would need to do that. So we are going to check them as needed. Obviously, we have situations where there may have been a discipline problem on a bus, so there's where these tapes really come invaluable. And they've been used in some court hearings and in issues with police. But as of right now, that's where we are, unless it wouldn't even be realistic to hire people because we would need so many to monitor all the tapes, all these hours of tapes.
I agree, but I didn't know if you were going to like just pull random samples. The other thing I was questioning, and we had some discussion about this, about how long those tapes would be kept. You know, there was talk about 1 year and then they'd be written over. I think honestly, that last incident didn't happen like over a 4-year period. So if we had only a year's worth of tapes, history should teach us otherwise.
The recorders in these buses have SD cards. They are going to be 64 gig SD cards in all of them. The ones currently we have are 32. They do get rewritten. I don't think I told you a year, but they will be rewritten over within months.
Not even a year.
Not even a year. Nobody saves them longer than necessary. The cost for the industrial SD cards, if we buy them from the manufacturer of the cameras, is almost $300 each because of they're considered an industrial one. You can still go to Staples and get one for maybe $50, but they don't re-record over nicely as much as the industrial ones do. We are using non-industrial ones currently. I don't see a difference in them. That's what I'm going to stay with on the non-industrial. But we would have to stockpile them and just keep them for, and I don't know. No district that I've talked to maintains any of their recordings longer than what the bus needs. They allow them to rewrite. Our plan is to spot check the cameras though. We're not going to just sit there. Once I have my new assistant in place this week, her and I are going to get together and decide how we want to go work forward on this, and I can report back to you. Okay. But I talked to a lot of neighboring districts. I belong to the Montgomery Bucks Pupil Transportation Association, and really nobody looks at every video. It's impossible. And I just want, and I knew you understood that, but yeah. I mean, when you're, like Dr. Radigan said, we have 100 vehicles out there. Now we're going to 3 cameras in each. That 600 hour a day recording now just goes to 1,800 hours a day when you do 3 different cameras. So that's impossible to do. We do them, and I do them mostly myself for principals upon request on discipline issues, bullying, various things. I will say that the camera that we're putting in that's going to capture the service door is an excellent picture. Any intruder getting on the bus or a parent standing in the stairwell like not supposed to, we will be able to identify very clearly. We will be able to identify the actions of our drivers if they are accused of doing inappropriate things during their run, such as talking on a cell phone while they're moving, inappropriately talking to parents. All these things will be captured. We will hold any tape that we have to on the computer, on our server. We are able to download them, put them on a server, and they're on there forever. So anything that is in question, we do put out there. I put it out to the principals. The principals each have access to that same saved server, so they can get on there, look at them, and use them for disciplinary purposes also.
So they can be saved if needed.
We do. They are currently all being saved on our server. I have individual folders for this school year and also by building. And anything I download for them, I dump into those folders. I send them an email and say, the film you're looking for, say, bus 50 is there. They'll go out, they'll look at it, make sure that they can view it, and then they let me know if it's there for what they need, their purposes. I even offer popcorn to some of the people because they're seeing a lot of movies from me.
But if there's no request, then
if there's no request, we don't do any action.
All right. I feel a little bit better.
But we do have a way of doing it, and it is a lot. There's times I do 6-7 requests a week for videos, and then I have to sit there and look through them to find it if they don't tell me exactly when it happened. Okay?
I just wanted to add, I'm glad to hear your spot checking, and that's exactly what I didn't want someone sitting there watching all the tapes, but I wanted someone spot checking through them. And I'm also wondering if we can prioritize buses for our special education buses where we have kids who are more vulnerable. You know, on a big bus with 60 kids, it's easier for kids to say, hey, this is going on, and bring it to an adult's attention and an adult to look into it. But, you know, when you have kids in those other buses, sometimes, you know, that communication isn't there. And so that's what I would like to see really focused on that too.
And a lot of our special ed buses have aids, not all of them, but they are on there, and the reason they're on is because it's written into their IEPs that individuals need them. They need a bus aid or they need a one-on-one aid. So there is an adult in a lot of our mini buses and vans. Some don't have them, but yeah, I can understand that, you know, we're going to try to get to them at all of them as often as we can, but to do some spot checking. It all depends on the workload over there and other projects going on too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brian and I have spent a lot of time talking about the use of the cameras, and throughout our process of finding a new assistant, we ask a lot of questions about the use of cameras and on the buses and so forth. And going back to the random checking and also the use of the cameras to study for safety violations is something that not only for the student safety and the students' safety violations, but driving issues and safety issues in that regard, and to use those spot checks to see if retraining is needed, things like that. So it's an area that we've spent a lot of time talking about and determining how best to use these cameras.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the fourth item is a request to waive the turf field rental fee for the BuxMont Torch on May 28th of 2016 for a soccer clinic fundraiser for Helman Field. Mr. Hubbard, do you have that information, or just Dr. Price?
I don't have specific information on the actual event. The event came to us from you and from Mrs. Yardley, about the request from the BuxMont Torch to be able to use the field for free during the fundraiser part of that day.
Right, well, I believe it went to Mr. Babb, right, because he was the one that handles the facility rentals. But yeah, I've talked to Rich Sparling, who runs the BuxMont Torch, and because they have all their home games here, they wanted to do a fundraiser for the stadium. So the idea is that they're going to have their players run a clinic. I'm not sure of the exact details because Rich Sparling is organizing it, but maybe a 2 to 3 hour clinic for soccer for younger students, and have the kids pay $25 for the clinic. And I believe he's going to, they might also include some tickets for a game either that night or another time. Yeah, so he wanted, I know he wanted to have the fee for renting the turf field for that time be waived.
Do we know what that fee was? It would be.
I do not. The turf field for the Torch is a specific rental fee, and
But they rent for, do they have a contract for?
They have an amount per game.
Okay.
They pay, and I can't remember that exact amount right off the top of my head.
Okay.
I
Can you,
apologize.
can you get us that, just to let board members know
Yeah.
what exactly
Sure
the
can.
fee is that we're
Sure can.
being asked to waive? Any other questions on this?
So are they donating 100% of their proceeds, or a certain portion of their, like, is the whole fundraiser for that field, or just a portion, do you know?
Mrs. Yarlin, I believe it's 100%, yeah. They had approached last year in regard to doing a similar event, and they just weren't able to get it, make it happen.
Yeah, I think because of the calendar, it's the days when it worked for them, there were already some events at the high school and parking was going to be an issue. Not that the field was available, but there were some big events at the high school that needed all the parking.
And they may have been limited last year too with construction starting.
Right, and there was
As well,
construction also, yeah.
So, again, they wanted to do this last year, it just didn't happen, so they reapproached in regard to doing it for this year.
Yeah, I'm just looking, I found the email that he had sent to Mr. Babb, and then he forwarded it to me. So he said they have a game that night that starts at 6 p.m. He said they would run the fundraiser from 1 to 5. He said they pay $100 for the first hour and $75 for each subsequent hour is what they normally pay when they use the field. And then I guess in the email, so I don't know, I don't see the answers, it just says, is it extra to use the concession stand? And then $50 per hour for lights, question mark, are the locker rooms extra? Because I guess this is the first year for them using all of the facilities, because last year when they rented, not everything was
Yes, and
finished.
those questions would fall under what is the facility use, which Mr. Daubert just said. We don't rent out the concession stands. I don't believe we include the locker rooms either, correct?
It's all just one fee. I don't know, I don't know the
I
answers
think
to it,
that
I'm just looking at
as
the
we,
emails.
it's online under the facility use, but it includes the use of the field, the restrooms. I believe that's it. Yeah, so it doesn't include the concession stand. So basically, the fee that they're asking to waive is that 1 to 5 p.m.
Right.
Not the time for the game, because they have
Correct.
already
Right.
committed to that.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would be the first hour at $100, 75 times 4. So
What it,
about $400 approximately.
they're still going to pay $100 for their first hour starting at 6, whenever they
Yes.
start.
Yes.
So it really would be $75 times 4. Right. That's $300.
Yeah, if you look at the $100 as their first hour for the game.
Right, but they're going to pay $100 for the first hour regardless.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're looking at what? 4 hours, 300. Okay. Do we want to move this forward? Do we want more information on it? Moving it forward? Move it forward? Okay, thank you. The fifth item is a review of the facilities bid, the RFP results for the Bedminster floor tile replacement and the asbestos removal. Mr. Loeffler?
Thank you. If you remember, we went out to bid last year for phase 1 of Bedminster to remove half of the floor tile in the school. And that was the main hallway and all the classrooms and the ceiling. And this year we were going to do phase 2. So under my non-routine items, I am out to bid for all those items. We have received bids back for bid number 17107, and this is for the replacement tile. March 30th, I opened up bids, and I'd like to recommend rate flooring for the base bid amount of $37,730. We sent out approximately 5 bids, and I had 2 come back. Again, one rate flooring for $37,730 and continental flooring for $58,330. So my recommendation would be for Wright's flooring.
Any questions for Mr. Loeffler? Okay.
And then moving on to the asbestos removal, we had sent out 5 bids. We sent out more than 5 bids, but we had 5 bids picked up. We had 5 people show up for the mandatory pre-bid meeting. And this is to abate phase 2 of Bedminster floor tile. We had prison response at low bid at $39,929. Plymouth Environmental for $44,000, Sargent for $49,790, USA Environmental for $58,800, and Shade Environmental for $75,000. Sargent was low bid on our last project last year. Prism came in, we expected that bid to be about $49,000. Prism came in at $39,929, so I recommend Prism for the abatement part of phase 2 of Bedminster.
Any questions on this?
Have we had any experience with Prism? I don't remember that name at all.
We have not, so we checked into their references, and their references came back fine, along with check their bonds.
By chance, did you check with Mrs. McHale? And I asked that only because she was associated with the Hazelton School District, Hazelton Area School District, which is where Drums is. I just wondered if she had any knowledge of these folks.
I have not, but I would do that.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Lockwood.
Thank you.
Mr. Galbert has one item.
One item to add on here quickly to the facilities agenda. We received our responses for the RFP for the building utilization studies. We received 8 responses. Jeff and I, along with Mike Spadafore from Dewey, met a day last week and started the review process. We're developing a spreadsheet to review and grade the responses. Our objective is to, if the board agrees, is to weed the 8 down to 3, the top 3 from our grading, and then invite those 3 companies in for an interview, and then grade those interviews, and then we would, Jeff and I and Mike would do those, and we would also welcome any board members who would like to be a part of those interviews. So like, if you would like to, as a facilities chair, be a part of that, that would be appreciated. If anybody else would like to be a part of that. So that's our plan. If that's okay with you, we would move forward with that.
For the May meeting.
Probably, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
I would rather take enough time to do it right than to push it if all the time frames don't match up.
All right, okay, thank you.
Reminder, the May meeting is early.
Yes.
Oh,
May meeting is
so we'll
early.
shoot for the June meeting?
We may be, yeah.
Okay. Well, that concludes the facilities portion. We'll move to finance. Mr.
Public
Casper.
comment, please, for facilities? Excuse me?
We'll do some public comment now.
Thank you.
Sue Furlong, West Rockhill Township. I just watched, and I want it all, I want it now, is what I think I saw with the weight room at Helman Field. I have to really say that when I compare the treatment that you're giving, basically the football team and some of the other teams that use that field compared to the way you treated the band had to wait. I remember Dr. Kish was the first time. He was when the band talked about where is our money that was taken from our SACT fund, and we wanted that to build our transportation. And Dr. Kish promised them that that money would be returned to them. It never was. Now I'm watching that, as I said earlier, you've got field hockey, lacrosse, soccer, football, and track athletes using Helman Field on a regular basis. And the only fundraising that I heard you talk about was $500 from the Football Booster Club. And you asked the band to come up with a $15,000 commitment. But you want it all, you want it now. You haven't had any push with your ad hoc fundraising committee. You don't even have your minutes up for the 2 meetings that are listed. So I see a real feeble attempt at providing for yourselves the way you asked the band organization to provide for itself. And I find it that it's real interesting to look at the board and see whose children are benefiting. And like I said, a $500 commitment, and you're spending commitments. You're not spending dollars, you're spending commitments. And the reason you have commitments instead of dollars is because you didn't push the advertising signs.